Yeah, we just started, and I see
Excellent.
Gretchen has just joined us.
Excellent. All right, then. Good evening, y'all. I'll call to order the meeting of Newburyport Historical Commission on this Thursday, May 22nd, 2025, live from Zoom. Please note that this meeting, as well as with all city meetings, is being recorded. We'll go ahead and roll call, starting with Andrew Bernhardt.
I'm here.
I saw you. I hear you. Mark Sandrone, I believe, is not here.
Right.
Right. Okay. Scott Clark.
I am here.
And we can hear you. Excellent. Chris Fay.
Here.
I can hear you. Great. Ellen Markey.
Here.
Excellent. Ed Neumer.
Here.
Thank you, sir. And I know Glenn is here.
Yep, I'm here.
Thank you. And Chris Suttel.
Here.
Thank you, sir. And the chair, that's me, Biff Faust, is here as well. We got Caitlin online and our note taker, Gretchen Joy. We have 3 demolition delays. One's actually a continuation. I'll just give a quick reminder on the kind of process of this for anyone online that hasn't been a part of these or just needs a little clarification. Basically, we will start on most of these cases with if the structure is historically significant or not. If it is, we continue on. Then we find if it's considered for preservation, and if we find both of those things and only both of those things, then we move on to review any kind of demolition plans and vote on whether it's preferably preserved. So we have first up as 287 Merrimack Street, which is continuation from our previous 2 meetings, the 24th of April and 8th of May. It looks like we've got Lisa Mead
Audio unmuted.
and Eileen Graff. It looks like you're with us as well.
Yes, we are, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. All right. Well, if you want to give your name and address for the record and let us know, give us kind of a review of your updated plans.
Sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. For the record, Lisa Mead, Tellerman Costa, 30 Green Street, Newburyport. With me this evening is Eileen Graff, who is the architect on the project. The applicant, Jay Caswell of Caswell Development, is unable to be here this evening. So as the board knows, we had a site walk. We've been here a couple of different times. And we believe that we have hit the nail on the head, as they say this time around. So let's run through the slides for you. So the real concern, next slide, please, Caitlin. The real concern that the board had were the dormers on the historic structure. The board had basically said, the commission had said that they were fine with everything to the rear, but the dormers on the historic structure was concerning to you. And so we have removed the proposed dormers on the original house. In addition, you might recall, and we'll show you in a minute, that there is the construction of the 2-story addition in the back part of the porch on the right-hand side of the house that had a flat roof. That flat roof was changed to a gable roof, and with a peaked roof with a gable end, which dies into the side of the roof on the opposite side, hopefully bringing a little bit of light into that second story. And we'll show you that in a minute. Next slide, please. So here is a sketch rendering of the proposal now without the dormers. I think that we hope that meets the requirements of the commission. Next slide, please. As you know, I think what's really great about this house, and if you went on the site visit, and a couple of you did, there's a couple of really interesting details that are going to be preserved and restored, namely those brackets around that front door, the returns, and the corner posts. But in any event, at this elevation, you can see where that second floor addition on the back there was originally a flat roof. And now Eileen has designed it as a gable, going in like a little bit of an L going into the side of that roof. And I think that you'll see that that ties in appropriately with the gables in the front of the house, and then obviously the rest of the addition to the rear. Next slide, please. So in plan form, we have the existing at the top, and you can see where that on the bottom of the left, you can see the new proposed gable peaked roof at that second story where we had it flat before. And if you go across the bottom row, you can see what that elevation looks like from the rear. And then with the new addition all the way on the right, so that's with the build out of the garage. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Maybe one more. Nope, that's it. There we go. And then this is the right side of the house, or the westerly side of the house. And so you can see that the proposed addition, even with the gable end, is lower than the ridge on the original historic structure. Certainly doesn't overtake that. And I think it provides a little more interest and cohesion than the flat roof did, which really didn't exist anywhere on the house. Eileen is here to answer any questions that you have. We hope this now meets the requirements of the commission, and we'd request that you lift the delay.
Great. Thank you for that. If anyone wants to jump in, I have some thoughts, but I'd like to hear from you guys. Glenn?
Yeah, thanks, Biff. Two quick things. I didn't want to interrupt you, Attorney Mead, but and maybe Annie can answer this. On the brackets on the front door, which you mentioned, I agree completely that they're an important historical feature, and I believe Mr. Caswell said he was planning on cleaning them up and saving them. The reason I mention this is because, and I assume it's just that the architectural software Ms. Graff has didn't have a widget that would make exactly what's there, but it made a more common style of bracket. But I'm sure Eileen knows what I'm talking about. The brackets that are there are kind of unusual and very interesting. So I just want to get on the record that that Mr. Caswell has agreed to clean those up and keep those original ones because they were part of the historic structure. I consider them a important historical feature. Other than that, the only
That's correct. That's correct, Glenn.
Yeah.
As you recall, there's sort of this scrolly
Right.
along the bracket, which
Right.
So exactly what you thought. It's a little difficult to get into that kind of detail in a computer, but
Yeah.
but the intent is exactly what you said, which is Jay plans to preserve those, restore them, etc. So.
Yeah. And the only other comment I'll have is that I think that the overall, even though it's a little unusual to have this kind of L-shaped structure for that vintage house, it's the overall style of it is much less, or excuse me, let me rephrase it, much more in keeping with that Greek revival era than the dormers would have been, and especially in that view coming if you're driving kind of northbound on Merrimack Street, it's going to be a much more favorable appearance. So I think, yeah, this is a significant improvement. Thanks. That's it.
Great, thanks, Glenn. Anyone else? I don't see any hands right now. I'll just say that yeah, I mean, obviously the dormers were a contentious point, but I do think the moving the sort of L sort of gable placement it seems much more natural. I think it also helps sort of, I wouldn't say hide, but it takes the attention away from the length of the structure in the back, and is it's definitely more in keeping with the style. So I think it's a vast improvement. Anyone else have any thoughts, opinions?
Yeah, I was just going to say, yeah, this is a so much better solution than the shed dormers. I was wondering how Ms. Graff was going to tackle this, and like Attorney Mead said, she really hit the nail on the head with this one. It's such a it's good. I really like it.
All right. Unless somebody else has any more comments, I'd take a motion to approve the review demo plans for 287 Merrimack Street and lift the demo delay.
I'll make that motion as read.
Okay.
All right.
I'll second the motion to approve the plan submitted tonight.
All right.
Mr. Chair, just double checking
Yep.
if you're going to have a public comment. I do see some
Oh.
people in the attendee list that have their hands raised.
Oh, great.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. All right. If we have anyone online who would like to make a comment, if you can raise your hand in the chat. It looks like Jeff Heyer.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. I don't know if this is the right board that this would be presented at. So please, tell me if it needs to be directed elsewhere. But being as we're talking about design of this building, does the Historic Commission take into consideration what would happen to the design with the fact that they need to raise that garage elevation is 4.5 feet above the existing grade in the back of the house? And what would, is it in the purview of the Historic Commission to deal with design issues that would be, implicated with having to bring in that much fill to raise that since it is a garage? And what design considerations would, what considerations does the Historic Commission have to deal with in that regard? Or does that need to be addressed elsewhere?
Yeah, I don't know that that's something as far as like, moving land mass or, doing it to sort of infill. I don't think that would necessarily be something that we would weigh in on. The overall design as it contributes to the historic structure, that's what we're going to be looking at.
Okay.
So I think that might be, if anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that might be more of either zoning board or planning board sort of issue.
Yeah, I don't know if and Attorney Mead can probably answer this one. I don't. Do you need to? Are you guys? Yeah, you probably will need to go to the ZBA for like upward extension of nonconformity or something like that.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a hearing in front of the ZBA, and it's not it's an upward extension and a lateral extension. That's correct.
Yeah. So, Mr. Heyer, that would be a more appropriate board because they do get into all kinds of land use and issues with the butters and all that sort of thing. If there's a concern about that.
Oh, fair enough. Would it then return to the Historic Commission just as a procedural thing if there was design change required because of
Probably only
that?
if they needed to change the design from what
Correct.
they've submitted tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. All right, sir. Anyone else online here would like to make a comment on 287 Merrimack Street? No. All right. Well, sorry, I almost missed that public comment, but we'll close that public comment for now. We can go back. We had a motion on the floor to approve the review demo plans for the structure 287 Merrimack Street and lift the demo delay. Motion from Chris Hotel and seconded by Glenn Richards. That's correct.
That's correct.
All right. So let's have a roll call then. Andrew Bernhardt.
Yes.
Scott Clark.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Fay.
Yes.
Thank you. Alan Markey.
Yes.
Thank you. Ed Neumer.
Yes.
Thank you. Glenn Richards.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chris Hotel.
Yes.
And the chair votes yay as well, so that motion passes and the demo delay has been lifted for 287 Merrimack.
Thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you
evening.
very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see, next on the docket, we have 9 Bromfeld Street. Now, let's see. We have Lydia from Pine Arch. Anyone else here representing?
Good afternoon.
Oh, hello.
Yes, this is
Hi.
Lydia Shadowska from Pioneer Design and Construction, representing the client, Ryan Johnson. I believe he is not joining us. He has,
Oh, I see him.
it's-
I see him raising,
Oh, you-
raising his hand right now.
oh, you do see him. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Welcome, Ryan. I wasn't sure if you're joining.
If you wanted to speak anytime, Mr. Johnson, you'll just need to unmute your mic and give your name and address for the record. But if you'd like to
Sure.
start with your presentation.
Absolutely. Well, so we had tried to design the structure here with mind to make a really mild moderations to the existing structure. And if you scroll to the last page, you can kind of get a feeling for what this building looks like. And you can notice that it doesn't have much of an overhang, but it does. It is a very narrow, and it is a very difficult to actually make any I would say living in this house with the current layout. So if you go to the demolition plan, which is on the second page, third page, sorry, with the cover, yeah. Third page is the demolition. Yes, that's 1, 2, 3. Yes, thank you. You can see what kind of demolition we're trying to do. So starting from the basement, we're removing the chimney, making sure that the staircase is up to code. So we're making an egress staircase, so it's safe. And then we are going all the way up to the attic and trying to maximize the space to be able to actually use the attic space. We had to raise the roof and make it a little bit taller, yet within the maximum allowance within the zoning board. And what we're proposing is to make it make another bedroom and an office on top of the floor. So you can scroll to the next page, which kind of explains a little bit to how this layout is going to be. So
if you don't mind, if you don't
yes.
mind, just real quick, what we'll want to do first, really, we can get into the actual demolition plans in just a moment, but really we need to come to a determination of historical significance and preservation considerations. So
Sure.
if you can just kind of, I guess, just give us just an really what we're looking for at this point, just an overview of the house and any history and you know, anything that you can tell us about the home as it stands.
Well, so first of all, it's called on the actual agenda. It's called that it is very early Victorian. Maybe by the date that it was built, it was found as it is considered to be historic. So what we're trying to do, as I said earlier, I was trying to give you a little bit of overview that we would like to take some of the attic area walls and roof and make it higher and make that front to look like there is still an existing dormer with a trim work. But this way, the client will have a little bit more room to operate in without compromising so much of the exterior looks. If you have any particular questions in terms of this structure, perhaps I can answer, but I guess I would rather have you comment on what you would like to see here, or if this is acceptable. Mhm.
Sure. Okay. Well, I think I'd just kind of like to get a feel of the board as far as how we want to approach looking at the significance and the preservation considerations. If we have any
What year
early
was the
thoughts about
house
that.
built? What year was it built?
That's a good question. I thought I think it's, I'm t-
1880.
I
1880.
believe it was close to that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, the district data sheet, which I believe was just referred to a minute ago. Let me open it again. The district data sheet, says, did I open the wrong one? Oops, sorry. Opened
1870.
the wrong one. Yeah, something like that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of, it called it an astylistic
Mhm.
early Victorian or something like that.
Correct.
Yeah, they probably don't have an exact date, but it's probably in that era. So it's certainly by the definitions listed in the ordinance, it qualifies as historic, and it's not in such terrible shape that it wouldn't be there, qualify as quote historic. We can address get to the other questions as to what to do about it.
Mhm.
Secondarily, which is I think Biff, I think that's where you were headed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So before we even discuss like what you want to do with it, if we determine that we don't think the house is considered for preservation or it's not historically significant, uh, then we don't really need to review your designs, and you can move on to whatever
Mhm.
phases you would be. So, um,
Correct.
so does anyone else have just thoughts about the style, the age of the home, um, anything insightful? I've, I mean, to me, it's I see why they're calling it a stylistic. It reminds me a lot of the sort of like James Blood speculation homes over like the Carter Street area. Just very like it's not quite Greek revival, but it's
Yeah.
as simple as it can be.
Yeah.
Um, and the siding, I don't think that was probably what it originally looked like, but it does seem appropriate for the place somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah, especially that part of town.
Well, I think unless somebody's got some anything else to say about it, if we like to make a motion to find the structure at 9 Bromfield historically significant.
Yeah, so we can take it first. So I'll be happy to make a motion for the first decision that the motion is that the house is historically significant, period. And we can decide that first.
I will
All right.
second.
I second that.
Thank you.
Who did that first? Andrew?
Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it to Andrew. So motion on the floor is that we find the structure at 9 Bromfield Street is historically significant, period. Start with Andrew Bernhardt
Yes.
and Scott Clark,
Yes.
Chris Fay,
Yes.
Alan Marquis,
Yes.
Ed Neumer,
Yes.
Glenn Richards,
Yes.
Chris Sautel.
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. So that motion passes. And yeah, I think, I mean, do we have any more? I feel like there's not much to say about it other than to make another motion that it's considered for preservation. But I'm all open ears here.
Well, my 2 cents, Biff, is that if we, we'll have a vote on whether it's considered for preservation, right? If we say no, then as you said a minute ago, that end of the story. If we say yes, then at least we can have a discussion as to whether it's preferably preserved or they they go ahead, they want to do, or maybe do something different. You know what I mean? So we have maintained
Yeah.
some measure of control. Frankly, I think, I don't know how others feel, but it is pretty, the term astylistic in the data sheet kind of says it all. There's very little
Yeah.
style to it, other than, the shape, the size, the proportions. You kind of described it pretty well.
Yeah, I think I think the character is in its simplicity. I
Yeah.
think there's
Exactly.
style in that.
So that's my
Chris,
2 cents.
thank you. Chris Fay?
Yeah, I was gonna sort of say the same thing, that we don't know. It would be nice if we had a little bit more information on the house, quite honestly, for my taste. But it's simplistic, which to me would speak to it's at that sort of end of the street near the water. I think I've been in this house. It is very small, but it's probably a working person's home. And I know that in the past, and I don't remember how many people were on the commission at the time, but we ruled on a house on Water Street right around the corner, I think. And that was the argument, which was it's not a captain's house. Captain's house are at the other end of the street. This is a working person's house. This is somebody that probably likely worked on the water. No, I wouldn't call it a Victorian. I'm not an expert on it. Doesn't have any characteristics of Victorian. It seems to be a utilitarian house that I think is worthy for preservation. And I would like to see us have a discussion about the plans as well.
All right. Any other comments, or would someone like to put a motion that the structure at 9 Bromfield is considered for preservation?
This is Andrew. I make the motion.
Andrew?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Any seconds?
I'll second it, Biff.
Is that Ed?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. All right, so on the floor is a motion to find the structure at 9 Bromfield Street considered for preservation. Andrew Bernhardt?
Yes.
Scott Clark?
Yes.
Thank you. Chris Fay?
Yes.
Alan Markey?
Yes.
Ed Neumer?
Yes.
Glenn Richards?
Yes.
Chris Sotell?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well. So the motion passes. So now we can take a look at, I guess, at your plans in full, and then you can give us a little better idea of what you're trying to do on that third half story, as it were.
Yes. So the goal was to on the third and 10th floor, which is currently the attic, to basically make enough room for it to be a full story. Yet having on one side small windows just to get enough light in, and maybe having the front to have energy efficient lights, windows. But yet we were trying to not to be super, we didn't want to change the whole looks of it. So this is why you can see that if you dropped the front of the house's trim work, then it would be the same shape, but basically a little bit flatter. So we thought, just to give it the same look and feel, is to make that trim, which is mimicking exactly what the old house looks like today in terms of the roof line. So the same pitch, just a little bit higher than the existing. And you can see the difference in all the heights and next pages. If you scroll down a little bit to, I believe, maybe 7 or 8. Right there, that one. So you could see the difference in what we were trying to do. I guess I would pass this to comments. If you have any more questions, I'd like to answer them.
Sure. Okay. I'll open it back up to the board that we've done the historic part. what do we think about this roof line change?
Well, I'd say that it's pretty clearly, it's pretty significant, right?
Yeah.
It's a pretty substantial change of elevation to the top of the roof comparison to the homes that are on either side. And I understand the reason for it. I guess there's definitely a distraction or detraction from the original front of the house. It seems pretty massive. I understand why. To get the usable space in there, but it's a little off-putting to me.
I understand that there's a certain requirement on the percentage of that as well, and we're not exceeding the percentage of what we're taking down in terms of the wall percentage. So it is the increase is only what is allowed. Those numbers, if you scroll to the legends, they are kind of explained in there in the legends.
Yeah. If I may, Biff?
Yeah, sure.
We're talking about two different things here. That, you know, if you're referring to like 25% or more or less of demolition and so forth, that's not. I don't think that's what Alan was. That was Alan, I think. I don't think that's what he was referring to. I think. Well, my impression would be, and I think this is what he was saying, is that it's a very, you know, it changes the overall dimensions, form of the structure quite considerably. Now, I understand you know, I think the idea of making it look more like a dormer is, you know, has validity, but because it's so coplanar on all four sides, it doesn't really read like a dormer. I think that if it were set in from the, you know, on probably, well, at best be on all four sides, but certainly at least on the gable end sides, it would at least come across, you know, a bit more like a dormer, and the proportions and shape of the original structure would be more apparent, even more so if it was set back a bit on all the sides. So that's kind of my 2 cents. But I think if you look at the massing, it really it really what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a favorable change to the massing of the structure as it is now in its historical form. It's kind of what I think the standards would call an inappropriate design choice to put this particular addition perched on top of that structure. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. You know, based on my understanding of the Secretary of Interior standards and so on.
Thank you, Chris Fay.
Do you want to take Mr. Johnson first, or it's up to
Yeah,
you?
well, Mr. Johnson, we'll come back to you.
Okay.
I'd just like to get the board's thoughts, and then you can answer kind of all those questions at once. I think it'll be just a little cleaner.
Okay. So I'm just looking at the entire end of that street on Google Maps, and I'm wondering. I think I would make the case that this, because we all know the dates on these data sheets can be off, and you know nothing dates on those sheets much past the 1850s. I'm just looking at the house to the left as you're heading down towards the water, which has maybe a storefront at one point or something in the front of it. But I'm looking at a side view. It's hard to see this house because there's a tree in the way. I think it's older than the 1870s, which to me makes sense why it's not. 2 houses over, there's a Victorian. If you spin around, these are all, I think they're all older. I think they were all built, as I said earlier, or most of them were for sort of working people. But if you go further down towards the river, there's a larger house, and even the yellow house next to it has obviously an addition at some point on the front. But it doesn't strike me as, if the land was wide open, why wouldn't they have built more houses like the pink one that's 2 doors over? I'm saying that this house is more of a twin to the house to the left of it, and that it probably dates from much earlier than the 1870s. So therefore, I'll echo what Glenn said. To add something like that to the roof is in and of itself an issue for me, but especially to a house that I'm gonna argue is older than 1870s.
Yeah,
It's just not consistent with any other house at that end of the street. As you go farther up, you get bigger houses, but that makes sense. They pushed up from the river, right?
I agree. If I were to age that, it would be more like 1840, something around there. I have a feeling it's probably on the 1851 map.
Yeah.
Probably can't tell because they were just little square boxes. Chris Suttel?
Yeah, thank you. This is more of an add-on to what Glenn was saying. When I was looking at the proposed designs on it, the proportions with the new addition don't fit with the rest of it. And this goes to what the Secretary of the Interior standards called spatial relationships, that are very that are mentioned a few times throughout the standard of portions and how things are spaced to keep its integrity. And the other question that came up also was in the standards for rehabilitation, it says that new additions and adjacent or related new construction will be undertaken in such a manner that if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that as well. I think that's important. What in a rehabilitation case, as this would, I think, qualify as, the Secretary of Standards specifically says they want something that can be removed without afterwards if somebody wants to remove it to its original state. And I think this is it would be destroying that. And it looks like most of the windows and fenestration and everything is changing as well. But sorry, Chris, I didn't mean to jump in.
Well, that was mostly what I wanted to get. I mean, there's a couple other things, but I'll let the other commissions say their piece first.
All right, thanks, Chris. Scott?
Yeah, I just, to your point, it appears to me that on all four sides, the windows are changing to single pane awning windows. Is that what I'm seeing? And then also on the new addition at the top, I just can't tell, is that a change of clapboard above a different siding? And if that's the case, can you clarify what is changing? Or is the siding actually continuous all the way?
It is continuous. It's just because it is new structure. It's just the color is different, but we can maintain it the same color. And we could make that dormer pushed to the back a little bit, compromising that master bedroom, but it would be one of the suggestions that perhaps if it is pushed over a couple of feet, perhaps it will look from the street that is scaled down. I do know that the house that is across the street, and it's not showing on the Google map. In fact, it has been remodeled totally, and I'm not sure if it was on the historic register or not, but it's a completely new modernized version, and it's really right across the street from this house. So on the street itself, there is a mix of different kinds of designs, not just a Victorian style, and which this building doesn't even qualify. I would call it a barn, actually.
All right. Any other questions, comments from the board? I don't know if Mr. Johnson, if you want to address any of those things, or if not, we can open up for public comment as well.
Good evening. I would like to address several of those points.
Great.
The street view by Google is outdated by at least 5 or 6 years at the current moment. The tree that is listed in front of the house fell during a storm in November of 2018, to put in perspective the outdating of the street view.
Yep.
The house shown on the corner of Water and Bromfield, which used to be the massage parlor, has been significantly remodeled with a multi-story garage, standalone garage added. The house on the corner has been remodeled. The second house in was completely torn down and updated to a very new version. The older style home directly across the street from me was remodeled with an aluminum roof or a steel roof placed above the front door for a very different look. The house that's directly across from me has vinyl siding. Just to mention a few of the updates, not to mention the house that resides behind me that was built in 2008, 2009 timeframe, that is of a very different style home than the neighborhood and much taller, along with the Victorian of the pink house by street view that is now blue, that has had significant work done to it, which stands much taller than my residence.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to relate?
Well, additionally, my house is not a clone of the house to the left of mine. That is 5-7, which is actually a double two-family home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. If there's no other comments from the commissioner, questions, we'll open up to public comment. See if there's anyone online that would like to comment. You can raise your hand. Looks like we have someone there. You could unmute yourself and give your name and address.
And I'm the owner of 5-7 Bromfield, and
what was your name? I'm sorry, I didn't catch it.
It's Stephen with a PH, Roche, Roche.
Thank you.
And my wife and I are the owners of 5-7 Bromfield, the house to the left. In fact, so close we share a driveway with number 9.
Mm-hmm.
And less than 100 feet from number 9, even with the proposed changes, is a home that would be taller. So I don't think the height change is significant. And the fact that the footprint isn't changing, in my mind, I'm just supportive of the project. I'm not worried about any shadows or any particular issues with the size of the change, proposed change.
Okay. Anything else, or is that it? Okay. Well, thank you. Anyone else public comment? Not seeing any other hands. All right, we'll close public comment. All right. Well, I guess throw it back to the board again. What are we feeling? What are our questions? What are our thoughts?
Well, I would say that I understand the comments from the homeowner, and the neighborhood has changed in a variety of different ways. So I sort of like his house is shouldn't be as maybe constricted because there are other things that have been going on in the neighborhood. I would still go with what I think Glenn put it perfectly for me, so I'll ask Glenn next time to speak for me, but I think it's still this similar effect. I think it would definitely help to have the dormers pushed back from the front of the house. I think that would be an improvement, so it looked like it was you could still see the original framework of the house. So that's my only comments.
Thanks. Glenn?
Yeah. Thanks. Was that? I guess it was. I think it was Alan. Yeah. It's a diverse neighborhood, no question, right? Houses of different eras, different styles, and also a lot of renovations to these places over the years. And hey, it's Newburyport. That's the case all over. But similar to what I think I said on Merrimack Street, and I've said in other cases, what it's errors made or oversights or mistakes made in the past don't mean we should continue to make mistakes in the present. So that's so let's take things on their individual merits as they stand. And I can't get over the change. I still believe the change in massing is too extreme. It just totally changes the aspect of the house and makes it look, it makes it's not it doesn't look like a normal house anymore. I think that, out of compassion for the owner wanting to, have a little more space, convert the attic into livable space, I think that could be done without doing quite so much damage to the stylistic or astylistic, in this case, character of the house by making that third floor not just superficially appear like it dormer-ish, but actually making it more like an actual dormer. I gotta think you'd still have enough room there to have some significant increase in living space. You'd have another floor and all that, but it would preserve the proportions and massing of the original house a lot better. So that would be my suggestion. So that's my 2 cents. End of story.
Thanks, Glenn. Anyone else have a comment? I mean, I do think that it's, as Glenn was saying, that we need to look at this house on its own, and although we look at it as a streetscape, that's important as well as how it fits in. But I think what we're all reacting to really is the change in massing from what is this small house, and that's kind of what, to me, is what the character of the home is its simplicity and its scale, and to bump this thing up and basically put it in a way that there's no, I feel like there's nothing of the old home left in this design, with all the window changes, with all the complete roof line change. I know that the backyard isn't giant, and I'm sure that there's very little wiggle room to move back there, but so many more of the projects that we see, to avoid doing something like this, are trying to build off the back. I don't know about that small addition on the back, if that was able to be, lifted up, shot off a little bit to the left, if looking from the front, and add some more space there. I think that would be less harmful to the massing. But I think that's what we're all reacting to, is I believe is that the massing is, and just the style or the astylistic of it is so basically eliminated with this look.
Can I just add something?
Sure, absolutely.
So with the current proposed height, which is 30 foot 2 inches, according to the zoning, we could go 35. So if you wanted to have that front look exactly the same, meaning the same roof pitch and everything that's basically you see, just a little taller, we can still go 5 feet higher to achieve that. The reason we didn't go 5 feet higher, we thought it will be out of scale for that thin structure. So that's why we proposed the dormers. But by right, we could actually go to 35 feet high, and the zoning board would not say anything to us, at least because we would not be fighting the general rules. So really the question is, would you find this more appealing if we did that versus what we are proposing here? So it would be just the same look, but basically taller.
Yeah, can I respond to that, Biff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you might be missing the point, and there's a couple of things there. If you're right that the zoning permits a ridge height or of 35 feet or whatever it is, but you're incorrect in saying that you can do that, quote, by right, especially where you're so close to the lot line. I'm sure, I haven't looked this up, but I would be shocked if there wasn't a nonconformity there. So you would have to get approval for an upward extension of a nonconformity. So it would be questioned by the ZBA, and I think they would, especially if they're knowledgeable of this discussion that we're having here, they would have similar concerns in terms of how high this was being raised and how close to the lot line it was. But the bigger point that I think you're missing is that it's not the sheer height or lack of it that we're concerned with. It's the change. It's that you're building up on the same front and side planes. It's not a dormer. You said, oh, we went with a dormer rather than just raise the roof. No, you didn't go with a dormer. You basically did raise the roof and change the pitch so the ridge wouldn't be quite so high. Okay, great. But it doesn't strike the observer as a dormer. I mean, just putting that little, some trim pieces that have the same pitch as the current roof really doesn't quite, doesn't change it into a dormer. And so that's my reading of that.
Yeah, I understand. And there's no problem for us to actually make it look like even more like a dormer with 2 feet offset each side or just one side from the street. That would not be a problem. I was just saying that that most likely the zoning board of appeals, most likely, I'm not sure 100%, because yes, we do have to go because it is non-conforming, but it has a chance of passing the zoning board of appeals just because it does not exceed the height. If that's all they're looking at, not the historic aspects of it.
All right. Well, it does in this situation, we are really just looking at the historical significance of it and the application of this new construction.
Good evening. Can I make an additional statement, sir?
Sure, absolutely.
So when we discuss this, right, like we also took into account updating the stairs to be an egress, to bring it up to new safety and building requirements, which under the code isn't required, but we lean forward in order to make this a home that I can stay in forever, to be part of the community. And I think when we talk about what is historic, what is part of Newburyport, we also need to discuss what is the fabric of the community and being part of those neighborhoods and being part of that community. And I think being able to reside here and grow old here and be safe here is something that is important. And the design that we went with for this was heavily to accommodate the request by the building department to update the stairs to include that safety, such as I have aging elderly parents that are unable to go up and down the stairs of my home because they're very, very steep. So a lot of the design, including not doing this initially as a dormer, was predicated on being able to build a larger staircase and redo the stairs in the home.
Sure.
So I think that part of it is really truly a blend between what is of our past and what is of our future. Additionally, I understand that the historic code in town says that any building now over 75 years is historic, which makes a home from 1950 historic. So I think it's a question when we look at the neighborhoods and look at the blends of whether it is truly out of character for that neighborhood as it develops or not. And Bromfield Street is a street that's had significant remodeling in the last several years, to include several other homes that have been done by major rehabs and condoed on Bromfield in the last 2 years.
Sure. Well, thank you for that, and I can tell that you obviously care about this project and it's important to you, and you know, and I agree with a lot of your sentiment around what is kind of important and whatnot. But we really have to again step back, and we are looking. Our job is to apply the standards of the Secretary of Interior standards to a historic rehabilitation, and it's not an opinion. It's more of these are the guidelines, and we'll make recommendations based off of that.
I only ask this, sir, because right throughout this whole discussion, we haven't discussed what is significant other than the age of this house.
Well,
we
have. I mean, we've discussed that the character of it and the style of it is unique, and that.
But we really discussed the lack of style is what it is.
Right. Well,
I think determination was really based on the age, not really the style, because there, as you said, there's no style. That's the point I think Ryan makes here, right?
Could I chime in?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think the style, albeit plain, if you go drive around certain portions of or many parts of the town, you'll still see that same style home in a variety of areas. So although maybe it doesn't have a particular style that you could put a name to, it has definitely a particular time period in which these homes were built and had some significance in the development of the town. So I say, even though it's not a Victorian or it's not a Greek revival or something that you could actually put a stamp on, it still has a certain aesthetic value that you can find in many places in the town. So I think that's part of the sort of the reasoning behind this, not just the age.
Right. And the age is what brings it to our board, but our first vote in this meeting was on its historical significance, and we have voted that it is historically significant. And if you don't agree with that, it's I guess a moot point. We've already determined that, but at this point we need to determine if we find that the home is preferably preserved, and then if we don't feel that it's preferably preserved, then you can move on to other boards and whatever you need to do. But if we do find it's preferably preserved, then we need to either approve or not approve your demo plans while the home is in a 1-year demo delay. So, does that make sense?
I just have one question. Like,
sure.
For example, how would you make this less? So we're just working on suggestions from you. Like, if we wanted to come back and modify something, what would be acceptable in this case? Well, how you would see this as being moderately done or something like that. I've heard the language about the dormer being pushed back, right? Or making it a dormer, not a fake dormer or whatever you consider this to be. But I was just trying to see what else you would actually suggest here, so we can come back and maybe have a modified plan and still propose to have the living space on the third floor, perhaps not as is there anything we can do is the question.
Sure.
Bill, can I make a suggestion?
Yep.
And that's that, why don't we, take our vote on whether it's preferably preserved, because depending on how all that goes, we may or may not even need to have the discussion.
That's what I had just said earlier.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, I want to, if we find that it's preferably preserved and which puts the home under a 1-year demo delay, then that's the appropriate time that we can talk about what it is we think would be more appropriate, and we can make all kinds of arrangements from there. But until we make the determination that it's preferably preserved, it doesn't matter, or it might not matter.
Sure.
So if someone would like to make that motion, that the
I was going to offer to do that. All right.
Sure.
So I'll make a motion that it's historically significant and preferably preserved.
Well, just preferably preserved. We've already done the historical.
Oh, that's yeah. I'm just used to the language, and that's the language in the
I will
ordinance.
second Andrew.
All right. Andrew, so the motion is to find the structure at 9 Bromfield Street preferably preserved.
Yes.
Glenn, all right, Andrew, that was a yay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Scott?
Yeah.
Chris Fay?
Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you. Ellen Marquis?
Yes.
Thank you. Ed Neumer?
Yes.
And Glenn?
Yes.
And Chris?
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So we have voted that the home is preferably preserved, which means that technically now the home is in a 1-year demo delay. So the path forward now is to figure out what you want to do from here. If we wanted to, I don't think it would pass. We could make a motion right now to approve these demo plans as is. But I think, judging by the comments earlier, I think this plan isn't going to pass muster with most of us. So I think if everyone can just chime in a little bit about what you would like to see, I think that would be really helpful for these folks. I can feel their frustration, because I know the intent of what they're trying to do, and it can be frustrating, but I want to try to give them the best advice as to what would make sense with the Secretary of Interior standard. So, Glenn, you seem to be rolling in.
Well, I was just going to say, usually we do that after we have that vote on the plans, but I suppose we could do it now too. But I think I've pretty much said what my preference would be. I don't think, I think the, what's her name, the woman that spoke, sorry, Lydia. Yes. She was suggesting pushing the side of the dormer in like 2 feet. I don't even think it's required to be that much. That's my personal view. Maybe, somewhere between maybe 8 inches to a foot on the gable ends, and
to get just a visual, like,
to make it look more like a dormer, and it would make the original massing of the house more. You'd still be able to see that. You wouldn't. You'd be able to see the that original roof line, and would still be there, even if only for a foot or so. So it would really kind of soften the blow. It would look a bit less like just this elongated, stretched out, vertically structure. Anyway.
All right, thanks. Chris, did you have something?
Yeah, I the keeping the height of the original roof line, I think is very important when you're looking uh, at the house from the street. I, that added 3 feet and a few inches um, is actually is pretty substantial to knock the proportions out of proportion, so to speak. Uh, but with the original height of the roof, keeps them all in check. And I'm not really opposed to the dormers, as Glenn said, if they were set back a little bit, so it had the defining gable in the front as predominant as where it is today. It's just like I said, the height of it is just moves all the proportions, and the characteristic of the building is kind of knocked out of whack with that.
All right, thanks, Chris. Someone else have some suggestions, comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry to butt in yet again, Biff. I just
Sure.
realized I actually kind of misstated something in that even if it was, let's call it a real dormer, the original ridge line would be moved up as Chris was just implying. I forgot that in the revised plans that even though they keep that that trim would have the same pitch and
Angle.
everything as the original roof, it would still be significantly higher. So I forgot about that. So it's it's hard to say exactly how that would look. It'll probably still look a little weird, but I don't know.
All right, Scott, did you have something?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, it's a troubling, for me, it's troubling, on the, excuse me, the front elevation, there are the two roof lines at the top. One is about a, 3 pitch or 4 pitch. That's the new actual roof line. And then there's what looks to be a 10 or 12 pitch that is designed to mimic the old roof line. And to me, it simply reads as an applique, of some sort,
Right.
It's nothing more than a trim piece, basically. And, to me, it's like one, to pull that back, like Glenn said, 8 or 10 or 12 inches, to my mind, that needs to, be defined not just on the front elevation, but even pulled in on the sides, even if it's just enough to then allow for delineation on the side elevations, so that you've got an eve line running across, between the second and third
Yeah.
floor, if you will. So that to me is like, to me, that's the rub. I understand. I really respect the owner's desire to get some height in there, but not at the expense of creating like an applique. And I think I'm just generally struggling with the single pane awning windows on all four sides. Even if it were an awning window that had a fenestration that would not be single pane, or something. To me, to put something that looks like what's going to look like deer in the headlights windows in a house of this style doesn't make sense. And so that's my kind of a personal bugaboo. I don't
Sure.
know if others feel the same way.
Well, I think what you're getting at that would be a Secretary of Interior standards bugaboo, if you will, is the delineation between what is new and what is old. I think is part of what you were getting at too, is that uh, having that continuous plane on all the sides reads that was all built at the same time, and would most people would look at and would think it's almost new construction. I think the whole thing, but yeah. So I think some sort of more physical delimitation between where the original actual roof is and where this dormered or pushed up area is, I think will be really beneficial to keeping the massing and the look of this home intact.
I'd like to ask a question. Scott makes a great point. The windows, I just assumed that sort of inverted V dashed line in the window locations was just, I don't know, an artifact of the rendering software or something. But if those are all truly, single pane awning windows, then yeah, that would be a highly inappropriate modification.
Well, to answer your question, we were proposing to buy actual Ryan Johnson wanted us to use triple glazed windows. So it's not a single pane, it's a triple glazed window, just so you preserve the energy in the house, because it is very old, and having a really good windows are going to enhance the experience of the home and make it so the energy does not escape from the house, which actually meets the current codes. If you're doing any renovations in the house, we try to bring it up to the new standards, which right now they're pretty high. I feel like the client is really cold in this house, and windows are really bad. They're very old, and they need to be replaced. Whether they are replaced with the triple glazed or double hung would be probably determined by your board because of the significance. But that was the reasoning behind this idea here, to make it energy and efficient. And also, by default, triple glazed windows that are without any mounting, any bars, comparing to the actual double hung windows, here they are way far more efficient. So my question is, would you be okay with simulated divider, which would be giving that style back, but without compromising the energy efficiency of the house?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a yay or nay. I think it would be, how the rest of the design, works with it. But I mean, generally speaking, we're gonna want to see, as historically appropriate windows as possible. And there are lots of historical windows that can be made, that can be made to be more efficient. It's actually interesting to talk about that recently. But yeah, I mean, I think that's probably something definitely to consider. Is I think simulated divides would be better than just glass panes for sure.
Yeah, and Lydia, typically, in many cases, what the commission normally approves is the kind of simulated divided lights that do have that are not just between the glass dividers, but actual three-dimensional profile muntins. And the pattern of the muntins would be something that would be appropriate to the style of the house. This particular house, my guess, that would be like a 2/2, as a versus 6/6, whatever, and that would be also less expensive. That would be kind of my guess as to what would be most historically appropriate. But I'd certainly yield to if someone has a better opinion on that.
The house currently has 6/6.
Yeah, but do you think they were original to the house, or were they replacements?
Nope, they're absolutely replacement windows.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Yeah.
All right. Well, we can. I mean, I guess we can take a motion to approve the demo plans, and go from there. And if we don't approve them, then we can give you more feedback, I guess, if needed. But yeah, does anyone like to make a motion to approve the demo?
Don't be bashful.
It's Andrew. I make the motion to approve the demo.
All right, and anyone second that?
I'll be happy to second it, Glenn.
All right, thanks, Glenn. All right, so the motion is to approve the demo plans as is for 9 Brownfield Street and lift the demo delay. Andrew Bernhardt,
No. No.
Scott. Okay, thank you. Scott Clark,
No.
Chris Fay,
No.
Alan Markey,
No.
Ed Neumer,
No.
Glenn Richards,
No.
Chris Sawtell,
No.
and I'll vote no as well. So, all right. So yeah, at this point, we'll need to. I guess we'll need to. If you have any more questions from us before you go, but at this point, we'll just need to have you come back to us at a future meeting and propose any new changes, and we can review those and make discussions from there. As well as you can reach out to the planning department with any questions.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah, one quick thing before you go. When you do come back, and I think my colleague who described the applique thing described the problem very well. I would additionally say if you could give or create a rendering, from one of the street angles or something to help us perceive how it would look, because as you know, flat elevations sometimes make these things look worse than they really are, type of thing. So if you could manage to do a rendering, I'm sure the commission would find that really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually the cover sheet did have a 3-dimensional view. Maybe we skipped over it a little bit, but it wasn't rendered in color.
No, that's fine. Yeah, if you could, if you can do something similar like that with any revisions, that it's really helpful for us to get like you said, a better idea of what that massing would look like actually from the street as opposed to a straight on elevation.
Sure.
Okay. Well, yeah. Do you have a question, Ryan?
Yes, sir. I had one quick question.
Absolutely.
So there's been a lot of discussion on dormer setback dimension. Is there a uniform dimension that the board would like to see? Different board members had suggested different dimensions, and I just want to make sure before
right. Yeah,
I incur the cost of regenerating plans, which is very expensive and prohibitive.
Totally understand.
I meet your intent once.
Yeah, I don't think there's any specific standards. I think someone speak out if I'm overstating it, but I think just any sort of pushback, 6-8 inches a foot, that at least gives that physical presence of where that roof line is. I think that's what would really help.
Could I suggest that we pick a number?
Sure. Pick
Only
one.
because then it's 6 inches doesn't seem like quite enough.
No.
Just I think that I'd hate for him to go through the process and be like, you know what, if it was a little more type of thing.
Right. Sure.
So I would personally, I would say a foot to me would give it the right definition and a decent amount of setback, still preserving the space and giving it more of a dormal look. I think the 6 even though we're only talking 2 inches here, I think that would be, from my opinion, be a better number.
Yeah, this is Glenn. I would agree on the gable ends. On the side, of course, you'll have to do some reconfiguring of the fenestration because, as I think it was Alan was pointing out, or it might have been Scott, you want, like, instead of just having that trim board, it was called the applique, just sticking out like that on the corners, you'd have that come across as a genuine eave. I don't think it needs to be particularly deep, probably 6 or 8 inches would do it to define that space, but obviously that would affect looks from, at least based on what I'm seeing in this rendering, that would, you'd have to rejigger the fenestration a bit to fit.
Could I jump in on that?
Sure.
I mean, I don't know what that pitch is on that applique piece, if that's a 10 pitch, but even if it were made an 11 or a 12, that would bring the eave line down, probably enough that, you would, it might be more satisfactory to the homeowner
Yeah.
to keep the windows of substance up above, kind of
Right.
striking a balance.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the difference between a 10 pitch and a 12 pitch on that front elevation, I don't personally think we need to be slavish to say, oh, that's what was there before. It's just, we're trying to visually make this come together, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a fair compromise.
Yeah. So yeah, it sounds like a foot from the front and rear eaves. It sounds like, or at least especially the front, and then however you can hit that pitch line on the sides, so that there's some sort of actual eave that goes across that side elevation.
So I would just request from the board that we do 6 inches, and the request is predicated upon that we're updating to modern stairs and egress and building code, and the stairs are required to have a certain pitch and a certain depth, and
you can't afford much.
And if we pinch too much from the sides, we'll be unable to meet code for the stairs.
Okay.
So I would say the 6 inches is to what? I just want to make sure.
So on the side, you're from the side or from the front?
From the side, sir.
Okay.
Oh, I think I
6
think
on the side, a foot on the front.
Yes,
Yes,
I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that's clear. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
Well, can I just make one comment about the side? Just because I don't think there is, I think the roof can be done so it doesn't need to be on a different plane from the side wall, which I'm afraid to say this, but I'm, considering the age of the building, we should probably make sure that it does align, which is better than throwing it off a little bit too inside, and I think it would make things a little bit more complicated. So what I can do is I can have that roof over to the side. However, I know that the zoning board is also very strict, and they may not like the roofs on the side to be projecting too much, because the overhang might count towards the setback as well. So even though we may make this decision, but without talking to the board of the zoning board, if it's okay to add another roof eave on that side, would be also in question. Because as you see, the current house is, the eaves are very chopped off.
right?
And I'm not sure if this was redone on purpose like this, just because it was close to the property lines. But we don't want to be coming back again and saying, well, wait a minute, but we were stopped by the zoning board. We cannot do certain things. So I know that we're trying to extend the eaves to what it is right now. But I mean, having it doubled, I don't know how they're going to react. That's what I'm just trying to
It's
say.
actually setting back, though. I guess that the point is you're setting that wall back. So I don't see how you'd be encroaching on any other property line, right?
Yeah.
Moving that wall back 6 inches.
Well, because currently, okay, you're saying that just keeping that, like, no overhang on this side?
No. Let's talk about taking that vertical wall that's supposed to be the dormer and setting that back into the house 6 inches. That's the idea. Not out. So you should be encroaching towards the property line any further. It should be actually less.
Yeah, and
Am I right about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Correct, and any eave that's at the lower edge of that steep pitch part would not extend any further out to either side than the what you've proposed for the main roof. So
Right.
I don't see where that's really a problem.
Well, we're not keeping the existing roof, we're removing the existing roof.
Yeah,
So,
I understand.
so we have to make this offset from the actual, it's just structurally a little bit more expensive to do it that way than having it straight as well. And I think I could maybe have that border somehow wrapping around or some sort of small roof, just a teeny tiny bit, so not
Well-
to do the insert, because I think it would still look like nice.
Well, let me ask the other commissioners on this. You know, you see in this rendering we're looking at right now how those I keep referring to them as the applique boards, those steep pitch boards, they do extend out several inches. We see a lot of houses around town where the so-called dormer is actually the front, window plane of it is actually coplanar with the full or below. So if your top eave that we're and the rendering we're looking at right now where the gutters are, if that extends out like 6 inches, maybe that's the 6 inches that you need to make that lower eave as well.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it was Scott or Alan that was talking about that. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It seems to be that you should be able just to push that wall back, and that's gonna give us what we're looking for, and not be poking anything out over the property line or making any CBA.
Well, just to be clear, what I was suggesting, Biff, is, and it's not optimal, but to keep the third floor they're adding, keep it in the same plane, because I understand, there's concern about the structural constraints and having moved back. I think it's a bit easier to move the sides in. But anyway, have that in that same plane as the lower thing, but still have that eave below, as so many houses around town do.
And more than just a simple trim board running across.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Please
that's
don't.
okay.
Yeah. That's
I hope that helps. So you can, and just FYI, you can, you can come. You don't need to do anything special other than get on a future agenda when you're ready to present a modified plan.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right. What do we have next here? All right, 85 Lime Street looks like is that next on our agenda?
Yep.
All right. We have Scott Brown, architect.
Well, yeah, good evening, everybody. Scott Brown, local architect, here with you this evening, representing Tim Island and Tyler Martin, the owners for 85 Lime Street. And Tim and Tyler have owned this house since 2018. It is a Queen Anne built in 1888, and it is a simplified example of the style, and I think that is pretty common in this region to find a lot of sort of examples of the Queen Anne style that are simplified. What is great about this house is that a lot of the historic detail, including the original windows, are still intact, despite a number of renovations done to it over the years. And one of those renovations you can see sort of in the lower left-hand photo, and that is a shed addition that I think was added about 10 years to the house. So this is clearly historically significant by any definition, and I would certainly argue that it should be considered for preservation. And with that, I think I'll let you folks take your vote, and then we can go into detail, what we're planning to do here.
Excellent. Thank you. I will toss around the board. I will say that I'm leaning towards making just a one motion historically significant and considered for preservation, but I know it messes us up sometimes. So I don't. But uh, but I also feel like it might be one of those cases that we can make that determination pretty quickly. Any comments though before we get to that?
Just that I agree with what you just said, Biff.
All right. Well then, I would love to take a motion that the structure at 85 Lime Street is historically significant and considered for preservation.
Yes, I'll be happy to make that motion. And I see Andrew flashing his hand too.
Okay. So Glenn, you're making the motion, and Andrew, you're seconding?
Yes.
All right. So the motion is that the structure is both historically significant and considered for preservation. Andrew,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Mr. Fay,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Glenn,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. So that motion passes. So we can continue on with your demolition plans.
Great, great. So as I mentioned, a lot of the historical detail in this house is still intact, including the original windows. And two of those original windows are showing at the top of the page. And these are windows that are in the attic. And the window that's in the top in the center is the window that is in the dormer that faces Lime Street. And the window in the upper right-hand corner with the, semicircular arch on it is a window that is in the gable end that faces Lime Street. And it's, partially obscured in that photo in the lower right-hand corner, which is taken from the front right corner of the house. This is a little house that's a little difficult to capture some great photos of, and because all of the trees and vegetation are all in the wrong places in terms of photos. But that window is in the gable end. So, the scope of work for this project was originally limited to just finishing the attic space. We did not intend to go outside the envelope. But at some point, it occurred to me that, what we were doing was going to require an egress window out of the attic. And these two windows that we're seeing on the top of the page that both face Lime Street, we want to preserve them. They are both fixed windows. So, making them operable, and also adding sort of like a storm sash to them, for energy code reasons, just wasn't going to be, didn't seem feasible to me. So I came up with the idea of adding a dormer on the south side of the house, and with that dormer, we would install a new construction casement window in it with a mutton bar pattern to match that of the existing window that we're seeing at the top here. And it was at this point that, Tim, one of the owners of the house, pointed out to me that they have a number of orphan window sash in the attic, and sash that is has the stained glass in it, and is basically the same size as the window on the top of the page here. And Tim had expressed a desire to kind of reuse that window in our new dormer. I thought this was a great idea, but then we had an issue. We still needed to solve, our egress issues by making both of these sash operable. We had to get creative, and I think the solution to making both these window sash operable is installing an energy panel on the inside, perhaps routed into into the sash or perhaps added to the surface of the sash. And ultimately, I think they'll end up, being push out casements. And the plan is at some point to talk to the window woman, seeing if they can assist us with this, because I think they would be a good fit for this project. So this new dormer that we're proposing has become where it initially started out as a way of trying to solve, our egress issues from the attic and preserving these two, beautiful windows at the front. It's become less about solving the egress issues and really about more about bringing some additional light into the attic, which would be very valuable, and also providing a view up Lime Street, for my clients, which is something that they hadn't had before from the attic, and lastly, providing a happy home for these for an orphan window sash that's sitting, sitting unused in the attic. So next slide, please.
Do you have any idea where that window sash was from on the house?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it is probably from the rear gable end of this house, because this attic has it has a gable on the rear and actually has a gable on the left side, and both of those gables have new, Marvin double hung windows in it. So so it might have been from there, and it's also possible, if we can go back one slide, some of these windows in the back of the house too that we're seeing at the second floor there, and certainly at the first floor, just to the left of that stair, those are not original windows. And you can see there at the gable end on the back too, that is a new Marvin window. So I'm guessing it's kind of one of these four locations, and
Sure.
where this window came from. Next slide. So just some, existing context photos. The subject property is in the center on the bottom, and it's sort of unusual for the block in terms of it has like a significant, front yard setback, and when Tim and Tyler called me, and I pulled up the house on, Google Street View. I was surprised because I had never noticed this house all the times I've been up and down Lime Street. And, I think a lot of it has to do with, yes, these trees in front, but also the fact that it's set back, which is very different from the house to the right of it and the house to the left of it. So the red house is the immediate abutter to the right. Greenhouse is immediate abutter to the left, and to the left of the greenhouse, that is actually a new house that I designed in 2014, and I'd like to think it sort of fits in naturally with the streetscape. So across the street, the immediate street, cross street across from this property is Horton Street. And on the south side of that, we'll see there are a couple of large structures. Both of those are multi-families. And then up in the upper right-hand corner, those are the three houses across the street from 85 Lime. And all of those are single family homes. Next slide, please. So, just a site plan, showing what the roof looks like, and where we're proposing this new dormer. And it's on the south side of the house, which is also the driveway side of the house. Next slide, please. So, the next three slides show, exactly what this is going to look like. We don't have, because we never intended to draw the exterior of this house. So we've tried to, demonstrate exactly what this is, going to look like, through Photoshop. So, existing view from, the southwest corner is on the bottom, and on the top is the proposed view, and what the dormer, is going to look like. So the intention is to, match the existing dormer on the front in every way possible, including, reusing that existing sash that is in the attic. And the only reason that we're here tonight is that that existing dormer that we want to match is coplanar with the exterior wall below, and it doesn't meet the 18-inch setback that is a requirement here in Newburyport. So both the existing dormer and the new dormer are going to be in the same plane as the wall below. But the eave line, you can see there, is pretty deep. And I think it's pretty successful at, hiding that, so the fact that both of them are in the same plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Next
reminds
slide,
me of
please.
the discussion we just had about coplanar and eave lines.
Right, like a deep eave, goes a
Yeah.
long way away
It
from,
does, yeah.
goes a long way in terms of like, tricking the eye.
Yeah, especially
In
where this
terms
is a
of
fairly
thinking,
small
yeah,
dormer
thinking
too.
that dormer is sort of set back.
Yeah.
Next slide, please. So just another kind of elevated view, what this, what this will look like. And we're intending to align it with the windows below.
Nice.
Yeah. And one last slide, just another view, from the driveway side. So, in short, I think there's a modest request. I'm excited about the possibility of trying to, reuse. That's something that's just sitting there in the attic, and also, excited about the opportunity to try to come up with like a clever solution to try to address the operability issues, and also sort of like the energy issues that are associated with single pane glass. And I would argue that what we're proposing here is really a natural fit for this house. And with that, I'll be happy to answer some questions.
Thank you. We will open up to public comment if there's anyone to do that, but is there any comments, concerns, I doubt, from our board? No?
For once, I have virtually nothing to say.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's great. No comments. It was awesome.
Yeah. Is there anyone online that would like to make a public comment? I'll open this up. If there is anyone, if you could raise your hand and let us know. Otherwise, I will consider the public comment period closed. Well, yeah, I'll just kick off by saying I think it's interesting, mostly because we've had so much discussion over the last several meetings about dormers, that I don't think there's I'm not going to speak for everyone here, but I don't think there's anyone on this board that feels like this is in any way inappropriate or you know uh, changing of character. If anything, I think it's really embracing the character and really well thoughtful. So you guys not have an actual plan yet for what you're going to do with that window to make it an egress and to make it have stained glass? You're just going to try to kind of figure that out.
Well, no, the window that is in the attic does have the stained glass in it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But the new one.
yeah, to answer your question is that, yeah, no, I don't have like a, definitive plan in
Like a
terms of how
working
we're going
plan,
to make
but
that work. But I think that, yeah, right. Like Brosco makes, single glazed sash with an energy panel on the outside, and why can't we why can't we do the same thing with these windows, and then just find a way of getting some hardware, putting on a hinge, getting some weather stripping, and that basically solves our operability issue. So
Great.
Yeah, I'm excited about the next steps and really sort of, talking to somebody that could actually execute this.
Well, great. Unless there's any more comment, I'd take a motion to, I think we have to first find that the structure is preferably preserved. So if anyone would like to make a motion that the structure at 85 Lime Street is preferably preserved, I'd love to take it.
As said, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. Second, anyone?
I seconded Biff.
Was that Ed?
Yes.
All right, thank you, Ed. All right, so on the floor, we've got a motion to find the structure at 85 Lime Street preferably preserved. Andrew, your vote.
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Thank you. And Chris Fay.
Yes.
Alan Markey.
Yes.
Ed Neumer.
Yes.
Mr. Richards.
Yes.
Chris Sawtell.
Yes.
I'll vote yes as well. So that motion is passed. Technically, you are now under 1 year delay, so you're going to have to wait a year for that window. Oh, unless we want to make a motion to approve the reviewed demolition plans for the structure at 85 Lime Street and lift the demo delay. I would take that motion from anyone.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And that was Chris, right?
Yep.
Sawtell? Okay, great.
I'll second it.
Who was that you said so fast?
Alan Markey.
Okay, thanks, Alan. I was looking for the squared. All right, so the a motion on the floor right now is to approve the review demolition plans for the structure at 85 Lime Street and lift the demo delay. Sorry about my stumbling over all that. Andrew, your vote.
Yes.
Scott? And
Yes.
thank you. And Chris Fay?
Yes.
Alan Markey?
Yes.
Ed Neumer?
Yes.
Glenn Richards?
Yes.
Chris Sawtell?
Yes.
And I vote yay as well. So that motion passes. So the demo delay is over and the plans have been approved. So you may move on to your next steps.
Sounds good. Well,
figuring out that window.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. We've got through the demo delays. Oh, the joy. Let's move on to correspondence. This is just for our, at this point, to review and file, essentially. But this was apparently a preservation restriction that was started, what we're thinking, almost 10 years ago. And just recently, after some people must have been dusting off some files and realized, hey, what's happening? This has been reinitiated, and they've got new lawyer, and there's a whole bunch of corrections they need to make to appease the Massachusetts Historical Commission. Looks like. So I don't think there's any action from us at this point. Let's see. Approval of the minutes. Everyone have a chance. I know some of you might not have been at the meeting or for the 8th. But would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from May 8th of 2025?
Yeah, sure, Biff. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Thank you. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Fay. All right, motion to approve the minutes of 5/8/25. Andrew.
I wasn't here.
Okay. Scott Clark.
Nor was I.
Okay. Chris Fay.
I'm a yes.
Thank you. Alan Markey.
Yes.
Thank you. Ed Neumer.
Yes.
Thank you. Glenn.
Yes.
Mr. Sawtell.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Yes, I have 6 yeas, 2 abstains, so that those minutes have passed. Excellent. All right. Any updates from the planning department?
Chris Fay, your hand is up. Did you?
Yeah,
You have some?
I just wanted to ask a question before we adjourn. So
Sure.
you can go in whatever order you want, or
Well, I don't think, Caitlin, I'm guessing you don't have anything.
No updates from the planning department. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Go for it,
So,
Chris.
and my question, Caitlin may be able to weigh in as well. What would be the proper procedure for myself to raise a concern about one of the applicants that we heard tonight? And I would maybe defer to Mr. Richards as well, since I believe we heard an application some years ago about 4 to 6 Bromfield, which was the house that was kind of split and it been hit by lightning years ago. Do you remember that? Right at the end of the street. And then the applicant went ahead and did exactly, or I should say exactly, but the opposite of what we wanted them to do. Do you recall that at all?
Bromfield?
Just down the street from the one we were just speaking of at 9 Bromfield.
Oh. Well, there was the one by that abuts the rail trail that they wanted to raise the roof. Is that the one?
Yeah,
It's
the
it's not
address
on
on it now
Bromfield.
says
It's on
6.
the next one over.
Yeah, it's the new house, which was once a house that got hit by lightning and had been in disrepair.
Mhm. Was it on the other side of the street?
Yes,
And
across
down
the
near,
street,
right near
closer-
Water Street?
closer to Water Street, correct.
Yeah, and it ended up like they left like a piece of one wall standing, and everything else went.
Yeah, because the applicant got caught, if I recall correctly, after the house had been completed in contradiction to what we had suggested and what had been approved. The reason I bring it up, and I can't obviously prove it from a voice, but something strikes me as similar about the applicant tonight. So if I'm out of line, please stop me.
Gee, I don't know, Chris. Yeah, actually, I know who would know is Jennifer Blanchet, because she was very involved in that, and I'm sure she would have a very vivid memory of all the mishigas around that particular one.
So I think you have an idea of what my concern would be, and I don't know if it's appropriate to discuss that at a future date or, but something's not sitting right with me, and that's coloring my judgment a bit. So
yeah.
I'll let you marinate.
The voice was the same? Chris, you're saying the voice sounded the same?
The tone of voice, the sort of demeanor of the voice, the aggressive nature of the voice, so that's all.
Yeah.
It's just a hunch, but my
hear you,
teacher
Chris.
antenna is up.
Yeah, okay.
Antenna is up.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I suspect it's a different person, but with a similar sort of attitude. Let's hope, but I certainly hope that the actions don't bear any resemblance to those ones that we saw.
That would be my concern, that we're going through all these motions for somebody who's going to do anything that they want, no matter what. So,
well, and Caitlin, maybe I feel like I've seen there's something in our statutes that if someone has done a essentially unapproved demolition, that there's a several year ban on construction or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how that process works, or
So I don't know,
I
Biff,
think,
if you
Chris,
want to look.
I think you should reach out to Jennifer, the zoning administrator, because she was very involved in that project. I know exactly which one you're talking about, and I believe it's a different person, like Glenn said. But I think you should reach out to Jennifer and kind of maybe relay your concerns to her. I think, and then get her sense on the history of that project. As you're talking
to me. Okay.
Yeah.
And Chris, what we can certainly do is just if they do present plans that we're amenable to and approve, we just remind them that they are committed to those plans, and that's which is true of all of our business.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jennifer would have like the applicant's name on that property across the street, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Chris Sartella, do you have some?
Yeah, I'll be fairly quick. Last meeting on May 8th, the couple that came for that house, that bungalow on Ferry Road.
Yeah.
I actually went out there today and took a look at it. And I happened to catch the homeowner just as he had left. His guy that was work from called him back. He's very amicable. He's a very nice guy. And he graciously allowed me to go and take a look inside the house. And I mostly wanted to see those details from St. Paul's Church that seemed to have come up in the conversation. I saw them. I took pictures. I should have had forwarded them to Caitlin so we could have presented, so I could have showed them to you tonight. But I recommend that if people get a chance to go out there and just take a little bit of a quick look on that house. He's kind of not sure how he wants to approach any of this, and he was saying, well, what can he essentially was asking me what can the commission what will the commission like or not like? And I said, well, I can't really answer that without my other commissioners here. So but go and take a look at this house. It's an unusual little building. And like the guy's name is John. He's very amicable. So if you get a chance, go out there and take a look. That's all.
Yeah, Chris, I've been by it. I also think it's very interesting. It's attractive. I think somebody maybe it was Chris Fay said it's like out of a movie set when you're there.
Yeah.
You really feel like, wow, where'd this come from?
Yeah.
How did we get here?
I think that overgrowth in the front gives it that kind of mystery too. Yeah.
Yeah, it adds to it.
I have always really kind of admired that home there because there is something very different about it, that interesting look. And I think it was interesting. We were, I think Chris Fay, you and I both were the only ones who liked that dormer on the front of that thing. But I like it because it doesn't look like another dormer. You know, it doesn't look like a shed dormer or something. It looks very specific to that house. I thought it was interesting. But
there are some others. There are some others in town. I've seen some others, not a lot,
but that just the massing of it with that really southern, roof line.
Could I ask, since I was in that last meeting, what address on Ferry is it? Do you know off the top of your
I
head?
think it's number 9 Ferry. It's on the corner of Plant Street and Ferry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a large lot right on the corner, Scott.
I was going to say, when I went upstairs to where that dormer was, and it's like an unfinished attic with planks along the floors. You kind of walk on. In the middle of the room is like this walled off area, and you go inside, and there's a little room in there, and that's where the dormer is. It's kind of unusual, but when you go around and you look around the inside, you can see all the rafters are charred, and that was the timber they said came from St. Paul's.
Yeah.
And the sheathing for the roof, when you look at the sheathing is about 14, 16 inches wide with old paint on it, with detailed edges that were floorboards that probably came from the church, as well as the boards that you're walking on over the rafters in the attic were also boards that were painted and very, very old.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of old materials in there. Whether they came from St. Paul's or not, I'm not sure, but it's something to see.
Well, I think they're in a bit of a predicament with that property. It's in order to make it multi units, it's either destroy that house or move at great expense and then turn it into a garage is kind of what I was hearing, which I don't really like. I don't like that idea. I mean, I guess it's keeping it alive while reusing it. So that's a good thing, but I don't know. I still have, there's, like I said, there's a home right down the street from us that was like ours in 1950s Cape, and they added a giant house to the back and turned the Cape into a 3-car garage, and it's weird to me just thinking like, some kid opened his presents there in the 60s and now there's a Tesla parked in there.
Is that the one on Merrimack Street?
No, it's up on like Hope and something.
Oh, okay. Because there's one like that near the old Merson plant there.
Across the street from the baseball field. I know.
Yeah. That's. Yeah.
All right.
One last quick thing before we take the motion to adjourn, just for
Sure.
those who remember Malcolm Conworth. I did call Plymouth Regional Hospital, and if anyone's interested, he's in room 420, 420. I try, and if you want, text me or something, I can give you the phone number there. I did try calling, didn't get an answer, but I'm going to try again just to kind of, say hi, try to cheer him up a little bit and see how he's doing. So if I'm able to get through and everything, I'll let folks know. I know some of you don't really know Malcolm because you're new to the commission, but other folks do. So anyway, just a quick update on him.
Yeah, I don't know him, but his name shows up if you dig around these historical home circles that we all dig around in.
Yep. Yeah. He was most well known for his great fondness and passion about old growth lumber and wood. That was, yeah, that would come up often.
That's an important thing.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, though.
Well, wish him the best, and let us know what you hear.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I will gladly entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, Mark's not here, so I'll be happy to make a motion to adjourn.
All right. And do we have a second? I'm sure someone.
Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. All right, Andrew, what's your vote?
Oh, yes. I thought it
was Scott.
Yes. Yes.
Chris Fay.
Yes.
Alan Markey.
I don't think so. I think we should talk about dormers more. I don't know what time on dormers tonight. No.
All right, I'll put you in as nay. Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Ed Normer.
Yes.
Mr. Richards.
Yes.
And Mr. Sattel.
Yes.
And sure, I'll vote to adjourn as well.
What the heck, right?
Good night, gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much, all, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Thank you, Biff. Good night.
Good night, folks.
Good night.
All right.
Bye-bye.